All right, hey guys, and we're back with another episode of Legacy Matters. I'm your host, Jason Lee, and again, this show is all really designed around all things legacy. Again, my heart, my passion is for entrepreneurs, the legacy and the lives that they're trying to create, and through that passion, I've been fortunate to not only meet some phenomenal business owners with amazing stories, but also some leaders who play a role in their journeys and helping them create legacies. And today, I'm joined by Rusty Smith. He's a friend of mine. We're connected through several organizations, and Rusty has spent his entire life, or the majority of his life, big chunk, giving back to the entrepreneur community. So helping to get those business owners from, I guess, going from a lifestyle business to a legacy business and helping them create that. And so he is a EOS, what do they call it? An implementer? Implementer. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. I've seen EOS be very successful with a lot of my clients. And so we've got a 3-part series with Rusty today. The first part of our series we're going to talk about is the EOS life. What is it? Why did he choose this platform to help get his clients there? How does it help? How does it get you there? And then we're going to talk about getting the business owners out of the business so that their business can improve and grow value. And then how do you equip, not only equip, but identify the right team members for taking over your business and equipping them to do just that. So we're going to capture 3 different vignettes, I would call them. So they're 10, 15-minute series so that you can capture this really quickly, maybe on your car ride from to and fro, and then pop up the other one on the next car ride. So we'll always keep you some easy content for you to either view it at home or just pop up on YouTube and listen to when you're in the car. So again, Rusty, let's kick things off. Let's start with your background. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, well, actually, I grew up in a family business, and so my mother sold real estate independently, and my father, even though he worked for the Postal Service, he always had some sort of side gig going on. My grandparents owned a restaurant, so I kind of grew up in that whole entrepreneurial world. But I ended up in the corporate world after college, and but I didn't last there very long. So I worked for a startup in the mid '80s. We got acquired. Ended up working for Compaq for a big chunk of my career. And then about almost 20 years ago, I got back into the entrepreneurial world by helping business owners.
Fantastic. And so when you said you got out of corporate back into the entrepreneurial world a few years ago, where did that start? What was the catalyst for your choice to do that when you decided to get back into that?
Well, when I was in the corporate world, I was a division manager at Compaq, and it was a very fulfilling career there. But my next position was to move to California or travel 100% of the time. I've been doing so much traveling. I already had a couple of positions where I traveled a lot. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. And so that's when I decided to leave. And I spent some time thinking about what I wanted to do. And I looked at other technology companies, looked at even some startups to go, and all of them also required a lot of travel and moving to California or Colorado or somewhere. And so that's when I decided to go out on my own and start working with the local business community.
I love it. So I love how also you have to practice what you preach, right? Because you go from corporate America and all of a sudden you're a business owner, right?
Yep,
Even though you're a solopreneur, that is quite the journey because you're wearing multiple hats.
It's funny, even though I've been a business coach for years, I have a business coach, and so I'm like, I've done peer groups in my career here with the Alternative Board. I'm on a couple of peer groups, and so, I believe in the process that everybody needs help, even those that need help.
Right, and so you've been in the business of helping those who are in the business of help themselves through mentorship. I know you ran multiple mentor groups for years, and then there was a catalyst or a turning point where you decided, I'm really going to step into this EOS life and then start bringing that out to the marketplace. It's been a very successful model. Tell us a little bit why you chose EOS. Tell us about EOS and really what the EOS life is about.
Okay. So I learned about EOS. Actually, one of my colleagues with the Alternative Board, we were at one of our conferences out in Denver. And he came up to me and he says, Rusty, I found this program called EOS, and he says, it's right up your alley. He's a good friend of mine. He knows my style and everything. And so I looked into it, and I'm like, man, this is exactly what I need for my clients. And so I started offering EOS just to my tab clients, and then ultimately I started offering it to other clients. And one of the things that really attracted me to it, and we talk about the EOS life, and so there's 5 components to what we call the EOS life. It's doing what you love, with people you love, making a huge difference, being compensated appropriately, and leaving time for other passions.
Love it.
And so that's what we try to help ourselves do. We try to live the EOS life ourselves, and we also try to help our clients live the EOS life as well.
So I know that there's been multiple books produced, and I can tell you from firsthand experience the success we've seen. When I step into an organization, and whether it be a prospect or a new client, if I see that they're banging their head on a few things, and it's amazing to me, honestly, how many business owners can be great at digging ditches or pulling wire or laying concrete, but running a company, developing people, maybe not their thing.
Exactly.
And so they're making millions of dollars, but they want to do more.
Right.
And they don't know where to start. And I feel like, I cracked this book open, read it, Traction, the original one. Then I also read Rocket Fuel. But I feel like they're phenomenal blueprints for anybody who at least is running a business, can open it and go to work on themselves. So walk me through what makes it different. Like, if someone goes and gets the book off the shelf, they could go run it. A lot of people call it self-implementing. You are an implementer. Right. So what does it typically look like? When does a client usually come to you and say, I need help? Is it because they've opened the book, or you bringing the idea to them? Or is it a combination of both? What does that normally look like?
Well, it's actually 3 different things, right? So there's people that have never heard of EOS.
Okay.
And so I do a lot of these types of things, as well as speaking and introduce people to the EOS concept. And then, I've probably given away more Traction books than I know what to,
Yeah.
Anyway, I buy them by the case, right?
Yeah.
And then there's those people who have read the Traction book and like it and want to implement, and some of them do try to self-implement. And then there's people who say, look, I know I can't do this on my own. I need help. And so they will hire an implementer.
Right.
And so, one of the things we say about the people who do self-implement is, I've seen some people that have done a great job at it, and some people who have taken bits and pieces of it, right?
Right.
And so when I go in, to someone who has self-implemented, one of the things I do is I look at their tools and I give them the guidance. You never call somebody's baby ugly, right? And so, we take where they are, and we meet them where they're at, we say, and we help them improve and get a more effective implementation.
Now, give me your thoughts on this, but one of the things that I think I see a lot of, and I'm blessed to see it, and I tell people this all the time when we're working with them, is you might, let's say you have a CPA, and he's a great CPA, or you have a good tax advisor, you got a good investment guy, you got a good this or whatever coach, but when you're isolated to one particular style or view, so for example, if I get the book, I get it off the shelf, I go implement it, great. But I don't have that peer component of a third party set of eyes. I'm not getting an inspection from the outside. So for example, when I see a tax plan, I look at it, but I've seen 5 different CPAs, different strategies in the last week, so I can compare notes to a business owner and say, well, have you heard of this? Well, my CPA didn't talk about it. Not that you can't expect your CPA to know everything.
Right.
No, same as a business owner, if they're living in their box, in their world, you can get a blueprint.
Yeah.
But how much more advantageous is it to get somebody who's actually been in 5 different meetings in the last week with 5 different businesses, with 5 different perspectives, and really gleaning wisdom? I'm sure you're getting wisdom all the time from your clients too, even though you're a coach, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
tell me about that.
So a couple of different thoughts on that, Jason. Number one, there was a German philosopher who basically said, you can't fix the system from the inside.
Right.
And so one of the things we ask the leadership team of a company when we go in is to try to rise above the business and say, if you were to come in and provide some guidance to this business, what would you advise them to do, right? And so we want to get them, out of their role. So we usually have, the CEO, the owner of the business, and their leadership team. So we'll have, their operations person, their salesperson, their financial person in the room. But we ask them to step out of those roles and start to look at the business from the outside, right? So you're in that box. You can't really fix the things inside that box unless you step outside that box. So we ask people to step above it. Our role as an implementer, we say we have three roles as an implementer. We're a teacher, facilitator, and coach. So a teacher, we're teaching them the EOS system. I know the EOS system. I've been using it for 10 years. I know the system, and I'm there to teach them that system. I'm there to facilitate them because they're having discussions, and sometimes they're having discussions that they've never had before as a leadership team.
Absolutely.
And so I'm facilitating that discussion, and I'm helping them, be a little more open, honest, and transparent, and sometimes asking the hard questions that need to be asked that people may be dancing around and that sort of thing. And then the third role is coach, and that's exactly what you were talking about. Is I've seen a lot of companies that have implemented and they get stuck. Right.
Got it.
And I'm able to say, well, I had another client that was dealing with this, and here's how they got through it. And, how does that feel? Well, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Well, if it didn't, well, here's another example of a client that had this issue.
Right.
And so we help them get past those blockages, if you will. So teacher, facilitate, and coach is what we're very clear about when we're in which role.
Right.
So sometimes we're in teacher mode. Sometimes we're in facilitator mode, which is where we spend most of our time, actually.
Right.
And then coaching is when they get stuck.
Well, yeah, I feel like facilitator mode is most designed to equip them to figure it out, right? So just like anything, a good facilitator is somebody who's letting them discover, uncover, and come to the conclusions. So sometimes you have to step in and give the direction.
And we're very clear, we are not a consultant, right? When I'm working with one of my clients, commercial electrical contractor or a law firm or whatever, I am not an expert in that industry. So I'm not going to come in and tell them how to run their business. They're the ones that have the answers. They're the ones that know what to do. I just help them figure that out, right? And the smart people are the ones in the room, and I'm just facilitating their conversation. Every once in a while, one of the clients will turn to me, and they'll be having some sort of heated discussion or excited discussion, and then they'll turn to me and say, Rusty, what do you think we should do? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not a consultant here. I don't know your industry. You know your industry better than I do. You know your customers. You know your competitors. You know the dynamics of your industry better than I do. Let's continue talking about it. And every single time they come up with the answer.
That's wisdom, right? That's wisdom. I think some people are looking for the easy button, so they want to push the easy button. Rusty, give me the answer. But if you just give them the answer, right, it's the old adage of teaching them how to fish versus versus giving them a fish.
You want them to have their answer, not my answer.
Genius. I love it. So as we get ready to wrap up this segment, Rusty, let's talk about legacy, right? And so we talked about those 5 key components of the EOS life. How do you believe that those 5 traits or components of the EOS life translate to a person's legacy?
Oh, it's fundamental. So I'm going to repeat them again slowly. Do what you love, right? Most people, when they start a business, you said they start a business and, they end up outside their comfort zone. They end up trying to do things that they shouldn't be doing, right?
Right.
A business owner, we call them visionaries. They should be spending their time doing the stuff that they love to do and delegate everything else and make sure that they have people within their organizations doing everything else, right? With people they love, right?
Love it.
So we look at the core values. We look at, the structure of the organization. We look at whether people want, and have the capacity to do their job. So if you can get to the right people in the right seats, right? Right people means they fit your culture. Right seats means they're suited for their job. Then it becomes, you become friends. It becomes a great place to work because you're working with people you love, right? Making a huge difference. So making a difference for your customers, making a difference for your employees, making a difference for yourself and your family, right? Being compensated appropriately, right? And, one of my clients, when I first started working with them, the owner of the company was not taking a salary, right? Running a good company, but and now after several years, she's taking a salary. She's offering bonuses and raises to her employees. And,
Love it.
And so they're being compensated appropriately, and then making time for other passions. So many of the business owners, when I first start working with them, they're working 70, 80 hours a week. They don't have time for vacations. They can't get away. They don't have time for their family. They're missing the softball game, the piano recitals, and so on and so forth. And so we want to make sure that the business is almost running itself, or actually is running itself, so that the owner and even the leadership team, they know that the company is running in a way that they can step away from the business. They can take that 2 week vacation that they've never been able to take before.
Right.
That they can go on that second honeymoon with their spouse. That they can take those family vacations and so on and so forth. So
There you go.
it
That sounds like
it's,
legacy.
it's life changing.
Yeah, that sounds like legacy. I love it.
Life-changing.
Well, hey, this has been great insight today, Rusty. I look forward to our next segment. We'll be talking about, in the next segment, we'll be talking about how do you get yourself wound, how do you get in the mindset as a business owner to step out of your business, and how does that help you drive business value so that someday when exit comes, you'll actually see a higher multiple because you've got a business that's operating without you in it. So thanks, Rusty.
Great.